Hey guys, so I can't be at school today. I'm sure that you read the post that said we had a bit of an orthodontics emergency, so that's where I had to be today. But we still have to continue on with our learning, so I'm just going to go over briefly your anchor chart for solving addition and subtraction equations. So if you would, please go ahead and open your math binders to Chapter 8 on the next blank page, and you can pause this video, go ahead and take down this anchor chart, and then once you have it all taken down on the next blank page behind Chapter 8, I want you to come back, and I'm going to go over it with you. So go ahead and pause now, take down the anchor chart, and then come back and press play. Okay, hopefully you did that, and you have your anchor chart all put in your math binder. So now let's go over the anchor chart. So today we're solving addition and subtraction equations. So we're finally going to solve for the variable. Remember, the variable is the letter that stands for a number. So today we're going to use inverse operations. So the first thing I want you to do is define inverse operations. So what it means whenever I say the word inverse means opposite. Like, what's the opposite of cold? Hot. What's the opposite of up? Down. The opposite of addition is subtraction, and the opposite of subtraction is addition. And we'll talk more about multiplication and division tomorrow when I come back. So we have 3 simple steps, and I want you to notice that in black is what I've written the actual equation to be, and then we're solving it with the numbers underneath. So our step 1 is to draw a line to separate the equation. That's because an equation has to stay balanced, just like whenever I showed you that balance in class, and I told you that the middle of the balance is your equal sign, because an equation is nothing more than 2 algebraic expressions that are equivalent, or they're equal to each other. So let's look at our very first equation here. We have d plus 5 equals 23. And that's all in black. And then in my black marker, I also drew a line down the middle. That's to show that that's the middle of the equation, and on both sides, it has to stay balanced. So when I do something to one side of the equation, I have to do the exact same thing to the other in order to keep it balanced. So our step 1 is to draw a line to separate the equation. So we already did that. Step 2 is use the inverse operation to cancel out all but the variable on one side. So let's go back to this. It says d plus 5 equals 23. The goal is always to get the variable all by itself. So since d is on the left-hand side, that's the side that I have to start with, because the goal is to get the variable all by itself on one side. So it says d plus 5 equals 23. So I need to get rid of this plus 5 in order to just have d left on the left-hand side. So since they're adding 5, I have to do the inverse operation, which is the opposite, and subtract 5, which I did right here with my red marker. So hopefully you understand that. Because they were adding 5, I had to use the inverse and subtract 5. So in my red marker, I went over to the other side, and remember, we have to always keep equations balanced. So whatever I do to one side of the equation, I have to then do the exact same thing to the other side. So since I subtracted 5 on this side, I also had to subtract 5 on this side. So 5 minus 5 left me with only d on this side, which remember was my goal to begin with. So now I have d equals, and then I just take that 23 that was on this side and do 23 minus 5, which gives me 18. So d equals 18. So that step 3 was repeat on the other side to solve for the variable. That's what we just did here with the 23 minus 5 equals 18. So let's look at this one. Remember, whenever we talked last week, we said it doesn't matter which side the total is on and which side it's not on, because it's just an equation and they're always equal. So this might look a little weird, but it's still the same process that we use. So I have 25 and 3/10 equals w minus 14 and 9/10. So step 1, I draw my line. My goal is to get the variable all by itself on one side. So after I draw my line, I have to find my variable. Here's my variable right here, w, minus 14 and 9/10. So if I want to get rid of the 14 and 9/10 and just have w on this side, then I have to do the inverse operation. So they're subtracting 14 and 9/10. So I have to add 14 and 9/10. That cancels that out. And then I have to do the same thing on the other side because remember, it has to stay balanced. So since I added 14 and 9/10 on this side, I have to also add 14 and 9/10 on this side. So 25 and 3/10 plus 14 and 9/10 is 40 and 2/10, and that equals W. So this last one is the exact same thing. It's just going to look a little bit more stressful to you because it's a fraction, and I know that's how that works. So we have M plus 3/10 equals 7/10. Remember, our goal is always to get variable by itself. So we start on the side with the variable. They're adding 3/10, so we want to get rid of that. So we're going to subtract 3/10 because that's the opposite or the inverse operation. So when I subtract that 3/10, it cancels out the adding 3/10, and I'm left with M on this side. Then since I subtracted 3/10 on this side, I've got to also subtract 3/10 on this side. 7/10 minus 3/10 is 4/10. And then remember, I always simplify, so I could divide by 2, and I get M equals 2/5. So if there was anything that was confusing about that, then make sure to go back and rewatch it. The main thing I want you to know is our goal is always to get the variable on one side by itself. So we always start with the side that is the variable. Then we have to do the inverse or the opposite operation and cancel it out. And then we do the exact same thing to the other side to keep it balanced. So we will do this again tomorrow with multiplication and division. So if it was kind of rough today because I wasn't there, that's okay. We'll go through it tomorrow. Yes, you absolutely need a piece of paper to show me all of this work for your assignment today. You will have to turn that in to me to get credit. I have to make sure that you know how to do this because right now this is just one-step linear equations, but eventually you'll do larger ones and you're going to need to make sure to know this process. So I hope you got it. Make sure you do your work and be good for the sub. See you later. Bye.